Hey everybody, it's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my NFL Playoffs 2022 AFC and NFC Championship Game picks. Before we talk about the conference championship games for Championship Sunday, I don't want to get into too many thoughts on the divisional round, and if you want to really get my honest opinion on having a divisional round, really, the divisional round, well, this year's divisional round wasn't as good as the divisional round last year, where every game was competitive in that playoff year last season. This divisional round didn't seem all that great at all. I mean, let's be real. We had one blowout. We had basically the offensive struggle, and obviously a game that really. Well, look. Let's just say when I want to talk about between a couple games here. Now, my first thought was really on the Bengals-Bills game last week, and it was an utter shocker last week. I mean, probably if you're a Bengals fan, you probably wasn't surprised at all, and I really shouldn't have been surprised at all one bit, given how the Bills in the wild card round didn't play that. They were really in a football game with the Dolphins in the first round, and that really did spell trouble. I mean, defense-wise, they looked gassed. And it turns out I was a bit right when I said the Bills' defense, they were banged up with injuries, and obviously Josh Allen and the offense really struggled against that Bengal defense. And given the fact that they were playing the Bengals and the fact that their offensive line they were really down to their third string players. I mean, their offensive line, I thought the Bills would have definitely gotten past that. But give the Bengals offense a ton of credit. Joe Mixon in that running game really took it to that Bills defense. And the Bills never had a chance in the second half. They were completely outplayed. And they have a ton of question marks now going into next season in terms of what they do with their offense. Obviously, Stephon Diggs wasn't happy with Josh Allen. Obviously, there's a lot of locker room issues going on there. I don't know there's plenty of blame to go around besides Sean McDermott, their coach, but obviously the whole team should be to blame in that one. Jaguars, Chiefs, obviously the injury to Patrick Mahomes wasn't much of a factor, even though the Jaguars kind of made it a game, but they were completely no match for Patrick Mahomes and that offense here, but there is question marks now going into the AFC Championship game for the Chiefs, how Patrick Mahomes' ankle's going to be. He's basically going to be playing on one leg, and I don't know. I mean, it's going to be tough to say how this AFC Championship game, which we'll get into that in a few minutes, and how this will definitely affect. Now, over in the NFC side, Eagles dominating the Giants. I did not expect that. I thought the Giants would have had a much bigger game plan. It looked like there was a ton of question marks for the Eagles to see who they really were made of. Were they truly the number one seed in the NFC all season, given the fact that they struggled down the stretch in the regular season? But they dominated the Giants. Give the Eagles a ton of credit. The Giants really were never in the football game at all. Give the Eagles offense and defense a ton of credit. Now the real test is going to be, come Sunday, how they do against the 49ers. And speaking of the 49ers, they did, as I predicted last week when I talked about the divisional games, it was going to be an offensive struggle for both the 49ers and the Cowboys. But the 49ers in the second half, they did a fantastic job. Their defense really stepped up in the second half of that game. They really forced 2 interceptions from Dak Prescott, and obviously they didn't have Pollard. Pollard was hurt in that game, and the 49ers did a fantastic job of holding the Cowboys at bay. And now, as we talk about the conference championship games, let's see what happens then. All right, let's get into the AFC and NFC Championship game right now. I'm going to first talk about the AFC Championship game first. The AFC Championship, the Cincinnati Bengals versus the Kansas City Chiefs, a rematch of last year's game. Now, Joe Burrow was 23 of 36, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions in that big win over Buffalo. Patrick Mahomes on one leg, 22 of 30, 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, and no interceptions. As of the time of this video, if you look at the odds makers, right, what they said, it is going back and forth between who would be more favored in this game. Some odds makers have the Bengals as a 1-point favorite. Some have the Chiefs as a 1-point favorite. I'm going to state this right now as I talk about this game. From my point of view, this game is you pick 'em status. This game could go either way. given how both these teams have some issues on both sides of the ball. Obviously, with the Bengals, now the real question mark goes into still that offensive line, given how they've been really banged up. Even though they got lucky and fortunate, they were able to create a running game to ease pressure off of Joe Burrow, given how the Bills' defense was really more bad than I expected. But now, given that the Chiefs' defense is a little bit more stable and a little bit more healthy, it's going to be a real question mark here for Kansas City if their defense can get to Joe Burrow, and that's one of the keys right now, especially also to stopping Joe Mixon in the run game. But obviously the Bengals with Hayden Hurst as another weapon and all that, if Joe Burrow can get enough time to throw the football. Now for Patrick Mahomes, they better hope and pray that he doesn't get sacked a lot in this game. Bengals defense is pretty good. Apple did a fantastic job in really frustrating Josh Allen all game long last week. Given what I viewed in both these two games, boy, it is really you pick 'em status in this one. It is a very, very tough pick here, given how these teams, given with some injuries they've had on both these two teams, and what could be their Achilles heel, it is really tough to see who's going to win this game. I don't know who will come out of the AFC in this one here. This is a game you got to treat with caution. Treat this with a grain of salt here because I don't know. It's a 50-50 split on who wins this football game. But if I got to make a pick in this game here, I'm going to pick the Cincinnati Bengals. They've had Patrick Mahomes' number. Until Patrick Mahomes shows that he can finally beat Joe Burrow and the Bengals and all that, I'm going to stay with the Bengals. Now, I picked the Chiefs last year in the AFC Championship because I didn't think the Bengals were ready, but they really played very hard against the Chiefs in last year's AFC Championship game. And I'm actually buying in it. I'm buying in now. I think Joe Burrow's got Patrick Mahomes' number, and I think the Bengals are going back to the Super Bowl again. This Bengal team is no joke. They starting to prove they've been getting the disrespect. Obviously, what happened after Damar Hamlin in the incident, and then there was talking about the neutral site, and then having to be screwed out of a home playoff game. The Bengals look like they're now on the mission now to get that Lombardi Trophy. I'm picking the Bengals here. This is you pick them here. The odds are going back and forth, so I really don't know who's going to win this game. I really don't know. But my pick is the Bengals, and I'm going to stick with that pick. I think that Joe Burrow is going to get. He's going to own Patrick Mahomes again. Bengals, in terms of their offense, they've really done a fantastic job of really frustrating that Kansas City defense, and I think it's going to continue. I think that Joe Burrow will still remain undefeated against Patrick Mahomes. I'm picking the Bengals here to win the AFC Championship. Bengals over the Chiefs. Now let's talk about the NFC Championship game. The San Francisco 49ers versus the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorite, and that number will definitely go to 2, maybe 1.5, maybe even 1 by the time this game kicks off. Now, Brock Purdy for the 49ers, 19 of 29, 214 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. Stats-wise, they really relied more on the running game with Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey. Now, Jalen Hurts went 16 of 24, 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. Obviously, Kenneth Gainwell and Miles Sanders were huge in that game They really dismantled that Giant defense last week. This is going to be a real test now for Jalen Hurts to see. He hasn't, other than maybe the Cowboys, and obviously because they didn't in that second meeting with the Cowboys that the Eagles had, they didn't because Jalen Hurts didn't play in that game. And obviously their defense did a number on that Eagle offense in that game they had back in Week 17. But now you get Jalen Hurts here. Let's see in terms if he's able to be more mobile and out of the pocket against this tough 49er defense. Now Brock Purdy last week didn't play all that impressive. Obviously now the pressure's starting to mount with him. To see now this is where we get into a much bigger stage now when you're one win away from the Super Bowl. The way I look at this football game here, it's going to really determine who does not turn the ball over, how many sacks will be in the game between the quarterbacks, between Hurt or Purdy, and which players will step up and make big plays in this game. Even though the Eagles might be slight favorites in this one here, I'm actually going to pick the 49ers. The 49er defense is still 100% healthy. Now, I know the Cowboys offense actually did a decent job of slowing that defense down. But in the end, the 49ers defense they were able to stop Dak Prescott. They forced turnovers. And that is the reason why I think the 49ers are going to beat the Eagles. The Eagles haven't seen a defense like the 49ers all season. And I think to me that if the Eagles don't make adjustments in this game, in terms of really running the football, I think is the only thing I could see them as a way for them to win this football game. But I look at this 49er defense. They force turnovers. And if the Eagles struggle with the football trying to score points, or if Jalen Hurts commits interceptions or any fumbles at all, it's going to be a long day for Jalen Hurts. And I just think with this 49er defense, it is really good. And that is the reason why I'm picking the 49ers, because of their defense. I think Jalen Hurts could be in for a rude awakening in that Eagle offense, though, given how the 49er defense has been in the top 5 all season long. And that's my pick to win the NFC Championship. I'm picking the 49ers at plus 2.5 to win the NFC Championship. That's it, everybody. So 49ers over the Eagles. All right. That's it for my conference championship picks. I know this video is long. I will see you guys in 2 weeks when I make my official pick for the Super Bowl. And until then, everybody, take care and enjoy Championship Sunday this weekend.